some more music, all about making a change in just a short 10 days away on election day. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Hey, sing along if you want it. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Yeah, so my name is Dan, and again, really glad to hear you have come out here and join us. Beautiful day here in Canton, Ohio. Yeah, would you make a little noise if you're glad to be here this morning? Yeah, let's just sing that one last time, because we're gonna have to let our light shine in just 10 days. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh no, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, 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 let it shine. One last time, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Yeah. Hey, all that's Daniel Dietrich. My name is Doug Patrick. We're so glad to be here in Canton, Ohio. I got to tell you, we've been traveling around the country in that little bus back there that says Faith, Hope, and Love for a Change on Election Day, because we are convinced that this country needs a new president. We think that's going to happen a week from Tuesday. Would you give me an amen with your hands about that? Yes. Now, friends, the reason we're out here doing this, the reason we're traveling around 41 states, we've done 74 live events just like this all over the country, because we keep hearing some things that don't sit so well with our souls. Some things going on in this country. You're hearing people tell you things like, if you're truly a Christian, you have to vote for a Republican, and we are here to remind you that that just ain't so. We're hearing people tell us that the news is fake, so we're here to remind you of the good news, and the good news is that people of faith are going to rise up on Election Day. Now, friends, there's people saying all kinds of things. I have heard someone say, and I'm a Christian pastor from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I have heard people say to me, yeah, but if you're truly a Christian, you know what you need to worry about? The Second Amendment. And I remind them of Jesus' teaching about the second commandment, which is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And we hear people saying all kinds of things like, we got to close down those borders and separate those children from their parents because somehow they're the ones that are the danger to this country. We're here to remind you of Jesus' teaching that you should welcome the little children and do unto others as you want to have them do unto you. That's what we're trying to be about in this country. Now, friends, there's a whole lot of people who want to build walls and try to separate this country. We have a couple of signs sitting around here that say faith, not fear, hope, not hate, love, not lies. That's what's on the ballot on Tuesday. This is not about right and left. This is not even about Republicans or Democrats. This is about right and wrong. So we're asking everybody, we like to say this is a bipartisan event, and sometimes people accuse us of it being a Biden partisan event, because we want Republicans, Democrats, independents, Green Party members, anarchists. We want everybody voting against this president on Election Day. Now, I also want to remind you that I'm a Christian, and as a Christian, as a pastor, I believe that every person is the light of the world, salt of the world, beloved child of God, no doubt about it. In fact, Donald Trump is the light of the world. Sure he is. But not every light of the world should be the president of the United States. And this man needs to take his dim little light and get it out of the Oval Office and stop bothering the good people of this country, because we are utterly convinced that he is a hazard, not only the well-being of this planet and this country, but everybody who lives on it. So this is an action that we're calling people to make a change. Now look, we could spend all day, we spend all afternoon in this beautiful Canton sunshine trying to convince you that Donald Trump is a failed president, that he's not up to the job, that he's a bad businessman. We can remind you of his daily levels of nonsense and discord, but frankly, we don't have to spend our time doing that. This man is like a self-cleaning oven. He does all the work for you. We don't need to be out here doing that, because if we did, we'd have to remind you of his denials and dithering and doing nothing on the COVID crisis. We'd have to remind you of his utter crassness and corruption and impeachable acts and his cruelty and kids in cages and soldiers with targets on their backs and corrupt leaders and advisors and consorting and bribing foreign governments and his general disregard for decency and honor, for him saying there's good people on both sides of the murderous activities in Charlottesville, of him saying to the Proud Boys, it's time for you to stand back but stand by, and we're not going to tolerate that nonsense in this country any longer. It's time for this guy to go. And we want to preach to a choir, and you might say to yourself, well, how do you convince people to change their minds? Look, we're not trying to convince you to change your mind. Donald Trump's going to change your mind for you. What we're doing is convincing people to act upon that changed mind they already have. We're trying to convince people who already know that Donald Trump has got to go, to raise up their voices, to step forward, to not stop singing a new song. So we hope you're part of a choir that's going to be singing a new song on Election Day. Now, I believe that we're living in historic times. I believe these are times that are unparalleled in my lifetime, certainly. I believe we're in the midst of a social reordering. I believe that we are in the midst of a racial reckoning. I believe that we need a political correction. And when people get really nervous about people talking about faith and politics, what it does is it turns it all over to one side of the political aisle, and the Vote Common Good, Faith, Hope, and Love for a Change rally is out here to remind you that you can be a person of good faith and of good conscience and do all you can to stop Donald Trump on Election Day. Now, we're here also to recruit you, so you're going to feel recruited, we hope, over the next couple of minutes while we're here. But before we do any of that, we need to bring you up with a little love in your music. We're going to give you a pledge a little later to take some love in politics pledge, but we also think we need a little more love in our music. You're going to meet some friends here today. You're going to meet Steph Mahan out of Nashville, Tennessee. You're going to meet Vanessa Ryerson out of Fayetteville, Arkansas. You're going to meet Genesis B out of Biloxi, Mississippi. You're going to be meeting Nick Brock out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. You're going to meet Keith Mans out of Holland, Michigan. You're going to meet a whole lot of people. And friends, we're doing all this because we want you to know you're not alone, and we need every voice to be rising up. Steph, thanks for being with us. To give us one of those good old-fashioned love songs, would you be so kind?
I would love to give a love song. You guys, you've got the cutest town here, and one thing I've noticed, you have beautiful babies in this town, I will say. My ovaries are really dried up, but they're really like popping out right now. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. My new friend over there. How we gonna build a bridge? And all we do is build a wall. How can we claim we're not all the same when God made us all? How we gonna raise our babies? Or how we gonna teach them grace? We preach about love on Sundays, all but Mondays is back to hate. So here's another song about loving each other, just another song about digging down deep. Take a good look at the heart of your brother. We all laugh, we all love, and we all bleed. We all want a better tomorrow, oh, 'cause everybody's had enough of all of the hurt and the hatred. Yeah, we could show you some love, oh, but getting there, it won't be easy. There's so much work to be done. Better or worse, it's all up to us, but a change has just got to come. Oh, so here's another song about loving each other, just another song about digging down deep. Take a good look Yeah, so here's another song about love. Yeah, it's just another song about love. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Wow, wow, wow. Another round of applause for Steph. Just another song about digging down deep. That's my jam. I hear it every day and I love it every single time. I wish I could sing. My name is Genesis B, y'all. I'm a hip-hop artist and activist from Biloxi, Mississippi. I know you're probably wondering where my southern twang is. Brooklyn took my southern twang, gave me a Brooklyn accent. So the last 5 years, my activism has been surrounded by the issue removing the Confederate emblem from the Mississippi state flag. And I'm proud to announce, as of June 30th, 2020, Mississippi retired that flag after flying 120 years. It was the last state to have the Confederate battle emblem in it. It's not just a symbol, it's not just a flag. It represents an ideology of white supremacy and neo-Confederacy that says people who look like me are less than human. So that's why that flag had to go. I watched my little niece walk across her graduation stage under that flag, that symbol telling her that your potential is limited. And I have 3 other little nieces, and I said I can't let that happen with them. So they don't have to do that, and I'm really proud of that. So shout out to the ancestors, everyone who fought against white supremacy. And if it can happen in Mississippi, I guarantee you it can happen all across the nation. Because Mississippi is a microcosm of our nation. Police exoneration and mass incarceration. Black and brown bodies, a commodity. Mothers separated from babies, border policy. It's like the White House is painted in the Klan's ideology, and our leadership is exploiting white poverty. Keeping us separate and divided, gay versus straight, white versus black, based off of fear and far from the facts. See, I hail from a state called the mighty Mississippi. It's the land of unsolved murder mystery. I'm triggered by the trauma in my own family history. Cause my dad was only 5 when a Klan drive-by bust bullets into his house with 6 children inside. On the back of the truck, a Confederate flag flying high. And these are the truths that they choose to deny. See, Mississippi, like America, eats your child and mine. The white supremacist lie is a prison of their own design. Some have forfeited their humanity in order to deny mine. Crazy, right? Because white supremacy is a lie. Some have accepted it, a Confederate curse they've inherited. Bigotry is blinding, and your fear of the other has blocked your own blessings from your sisters and brothers. Shame. Outrage, fatigue, I'm screaming I can't breathe. From the top it trickles down from our judges to police. Because the illusion of freedom is far more dangerous than any jail cell or cramped cages. Yes, Mississippi is a microcosm of my nation, where cowards replace white sheets with fake avatars, repeating their parents' folklore, tooth fairy Santa Claus, the history's whitewash. Google black codes and bylaws. In the comment section, sound off, sound off. Lord, they sound off. Don't they, Keith? They call me the N-word, a B, or a dyke. You call me whatever you like. I've been through worse in this fight, and the hatred in your words just proves that I'm right. Because Mississippi is a microcosm of a country that always needed me but never wanted me. My melanin and skin is a sin? Sentence to build your economy? Pack the prisons, fill the quota, make us felons, never voters. Travel bans and deportation, killer cops, no resignation. Just federal indictments and mock trials, you see. My heart bleeds as that billboard reads, "Make America white again," as my favorite rapper concedes. Shit, Kanye. Making me question everything that I believe. And still, I love America, I do. Because I have hope. Some choose to jump ship, and some steer the boat. See, I know that love and humanity lives in the smile of every child, in the heart of every kid. So be brave enough to break the curse. We need you at the polls, out in droves, fighting against the bigots you oppose. Study law, run for office, make a call, write your Congress. Use your voice and choose a march. Malcolm's gone, grab the torch. You can read a book, can write a rap. Just speak with truth and deal with facts, please. Freedom and justice are under attack. Alt-right affiliation of Trump's administration, Confederate infiltration, neo-Nazis showing faces. Dang. Just fueling the fear and the hatred while expanding their corporations. Do you see now how Mississippi is a microcosm of my nation? I'm Genesis B, y'all. Thank you.
God bless you, Genesis. Personal hero. What a courageous, thank you. Thank you, Vote Common Good, for letting me be here today. You've changed my life and blessed me a lot, and it's such a great privilege to be with you. And I don't almost know the story of King and everything that happened. I just heard a little bit just before we started, but this is his family. Bless you, peace to you, and comfort to you. And we're just so proud that you're with us. And this whole organization, from the time I've known them, is about honoring and blessing everybody and reckoning and reconciliation and justice and peace. And so thank you for coming to sit with us today. I'm a pretty normal pastor from a small town in a little conservative denomination. I don't serve a church right now. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But people say, when was your moment, you know? Because I believe that I'm a Jesus-believing, Bible-based pastor who believes that when the church surrenders itself to Donald Trump's agenda without criticism, it has left the kingdom of God. That the job of the Church of Jesus Christ is to be a conscience to this man. If you're the reason he's there, and if you're what's keeping him in office, then you should be his conscience. Don't just talk about one thing, because being a Christian is difficult. You have to care about everything and everyone, and the day you don't speak or act and be silent in response to everything that this evil man is doing from this office is the day the church leaves the kingdom of God. But people say, when was your moment? You know, when was it like the stone hit the windshield that eventually cracked your heart? I've had a lot of those. It started right when he came down the escalator. I've had a lot of moments like that, and probably you have too, but one of my major moments happened when I was in France. Now that sounds pretty hoity-toity, doesn't it? Yeah, I was in France. I had my American moment in France. Well, I decided to, in my own careful way, to make a stand with my life and to make a statement with my life, and I went to help refugees in a town called Lille, France. Now that's a part of France where a number of years ago, refugees would gather who had come up from the continent of Africa. And they had made their way across deserts and across oceans. Many of them had been beaten and abused and robbed and raped along the way. And they were gathering in Lille. So there came upon a time a few years ago when the town of Lille found itself with over 200 teenagers who had done all of that travel and landed in their town. And the people of Lille did the exact opposite of what Donald Trump would do, and they welcomed these refugees into their town and into their homes. They gathered together in groups. Neighbors, 4 neighbor families would group together, and they'd say, we'll adopt one of these refugees, and we'll give them shelter, and we'll give them clothes and food. And the whole town came out to provide for them. And then they did something else crazy. They decided, we're going to make a school, because these kids had no legal right to go to school in France. And so these people out, the whole town said, we're going to make a school for them and we're going to provide lawyers to help them get legal. And then when they get legal, we'll have educated them so that when they're legal, they can get a job and function successfully in our society and in our culture. So they did the whole thing. That's how I found myself in a broken down Catholic church trying to teach English to these kids. I didn't know barely any French, and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to teach them verbs. It's like ridiculous. So the only thing I really could do, though, was take them out. I'd buy them soda pop, or maybe a sandwich or a cookie or something, and so we'd sit and talk. So this came to be my moment. They finally trusted me enough. I think they finally dared to ask me. It had been about 3 days into this, and they were sitting there, got real quiet, and they looked at me, and they asked me, they said, Keith, what do you think of Donald Trump? And I said, I will tell you the exact truth of what I believe about that, but what do you think about Donald Trump? And I wish you had been there to see 4 young men, 13, 15, 17 years old, the poorest of the poor in the world, who had survived everything they had survived, and they sat there at the table, and all of their bodies just kind of got small, like kind of came in, and their heads bowed down. And finally one of them said, he kind of looked up at me and he said, he puffs out his chest and tell me there is no hope for me. Shame. I felt ashamed to be an American. At that moment, I thought, what did we put on the Statue of Liberty anyway? And I felt ashamed to be numbered among the institution of the church in North America, which has put that man in office and kept him there and let that kind of thing go out into the world. What do you want to say to the people of the world, to the children of the world, to the people everywhere in the world, to the poorest and the weakest among? What do you want to come out from our country? I don't think you want what Donald Trump has put out into the world, because those kids were crushed. So I said to them, you are my brother. Don't let anybody, I will probably not see you again, but I will remember you, and you will be my brothers, and I will stand for you. And you don't let anybody tell you you're worthless, because you matter to God, and you matter to America, and everybody matters. That was my moment. So when you leave here today, I hope you will take it upon yourself and in your heart to talk to people you love and people you know. That's hard to do. The reason I'm not serving a church right now is because the kind of things I've been believing about this. I mean, I love my church, and they're good brothers and sisters, and I miss them and I love them, but I left my job. And I left 30 years of ordained ministry and laid down my retirement, laid down my pension, and that all sounds real brave, nothing compared to what Vote Common Good has been doing for a year, and what so many others have sacrificed and given. I'm saying, what is your sacrifice? What do you want America to stand for? You stand for it too. Everybody matters. Everything matters. You stand. God bless you.
Thank you, Keith. My name's Dan, and for the last 13 or 14 years, I've been a worship pastor. And I grew up in the church, singing in the youth band. That's where I learned to play guitar, and it was a great place to grow up. I learned to take the words of Jesus seriously, and things like Matthew 25, what you do unto the least of these, you do unto me, that those words mattered. And that's why I was so confused in 2016 when 81% of white evangelicals voted for a man that looks nothing like Jesus. It felt like a betrayal, and I was angry, I was sad, and I put those emotions and thoughts into this song, and it's a call to my brothers and sisters in the church to come back to the way of Jesus. It's called Hymn for the 81%. I grew up in your churches, Sunday morning and evening service, melting tears at the foot of the rugged cross. You taught me every life is sacred, feed the hungry and clothe the naked. Learn from you the highest law is love. And I believed you when you said I should trust the words in red to guide my steps through a wicked world. I assumed you'd do the same, so imagine my dismay when I watched you lead the sheep straight to the wolves. You said to love the lost, so I'm loving you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. Oh, they started putting kids in cages, ripping mothers from their babies, and I look to you to speak on their behalf. Oh, but all I heard was silence, or worse, you justified it, singing glory, hallelujah, raise the flag. See, your fear had turned to hatred, but you baptized it with language torn from the pages of the good book. You weaponized religion, and you wonder why I'm leaving to find Jesus on the wrong side of your walls. You said to love the lost, so I'm loving you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome, justice roll down. Come home, come home. Oh, you're better than this. You taught me better than this. Come home, come home. You're better than this. You taught me better than this. Come home, come home. Oh. Softly and tenderly, Jesus is calling, calling, oh sinners, come home. And you said to love the lost, I'm trying to love you now. You said to speak the truth, that's why I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. May love overcome and justice roll down. May love overcome and justice roll down. Thank you so much. My name is Daniel Dietrich.
Thanks, Dan. Hey, I'm Vanessa. Yeah, I'm just a mom. I'm not famous or anything like these guys. Yeah, that's right. Hey, I'm happy to be in Canton today. It's been like 20 years since I was here. The last time I was like 11 months pregnant. I was at the Hall of Fame game. My first kid, yeah. So, yeah, I'm happy to be here. My husband, we're from Arkansas. You're wondering maybe why am I rooting for the Browns? Yeah, my husband was born in Cleveland. So he bleeds orange. His head is shaped like a football. Well, I met him at Bible college, little Bible college in eastern Pennsylvania. It was one of those little Bible colleges where you cannot smoke, you can't drink, you can't dance, you can't go to movies, you can't play cards, you can't hold hands with your boyfriend. What can you do? You can still have a good time. That's kind of surprising that you can still have a good time. You see, you have to understand where I came from. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, and my parents sent me to a little private Christian school. It was one of those places where they wanted to teach you about the importance of religious freedom by taking away all of our freedom. So it was nothing but rules, rules, rules all the time. Kind of a dark place. So when I was a little kid, 6 years old, I was walking through the hallway, and there was one of those bulletin boards, and I reached up and touched it, and my teacher took me by the shoulder, took me around the corner, put me in a dark room, closed the door, and left me there. It didn't get much better as time went on. It did not. There was one rule after another that got added to the rule book, and you were always being watched. You were always being checked to see if you were good enough, if you were holy enough, if your skirt was long enough, as if those are the same things. So it was rules, rules, rules all the time. One year they made a rule that you couldn't wear socks and pantyhose at the same time because it looked too much like Madonna. I don't mean the mother of Jesus. So crazy. Yeah, so that little Bible college, I had a good time there. I was actually there in 2016. Yeah, woo! I was back there in 2016 for our 20th class reunion, and we were there and did that whole awkward talking thing. Yeah, woo! We were tired after that day. We went back to the hotel and turned on the TV. And the news that night was the Access Hollywood tape. Do you remember that? The Access Hollywood tape? Yeah. When Trump bragged and bragged about everything that he could do, he didn't have to ask for a woman's permission to touch her. He could just rush in, ignore her autonomy, her personhood, take whatever he wanted. Just a monster. Yeah, and I remember thinking, hey, good. That means this is the end of him, right? And you know, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. So that day after the election, all my friends came to my house and we were heartbroken and it felt like a funeral and we didn't know what we were gonna do. How are we gonna get involved? I didn't know what I was gonna do. I was raised Republican. Grew up my whole life Republican. That was my team, right? I vote for them. They take care of me. That's the deal. They broke their side of the bargain. They betrayed me and every other woman in this country. So I didn't know what I was gonna do. Got to figure out how to get involved. Didn't know. A year ago, August 3rd, I had all my kids home, all four of them, the two big college kids, high schooler, and my little 6-year-old. And we were gonna go back to school shopping at Walmart, like you do. And so we're all in the mom van, and I hold up my camera to take a selfie of all of us together. Come on, everybody, lean in. They don't want to. I make them do it anyway. I'm going to post a picture on Instagram. I bring the camera down and I look at it and I see a breaking news notification on my phone. And it's another shooting. Another shooting. This one was in El Paso. As the news and the details about this story began to come out, I began to be more and more haunted. First, we learned that the shooter had driven 10 hours to go to El Paso specifically because of that town's special relationship with one another. They were not a group of people divided. This was a community that belonged to one another. And then we learned that that shooter had laid out his guns in the name of Trump, literally in the name of Trump, to impress him, because that's what impresses this man, violence. And then we learned from eyewitnesses that as that shooter went through the store, he would save his bullets, pass over white people like me, and he would save his bullets for brown people. And that is what broke me. You see, my third child is adopted. Her name is Charlie. She's a Latina. Beautiful. She sings like an angel. She draws. She's everybody's favorite person. She's funny. She's the glue that holds our family together. And to think, if we had been in the Walmart El Paso instead of the Walmart in Arkansas, that shooter would have passed over me and would have, for no other reason than the color of her skin, would have killed my daughter. And that was the moment. That was the moment for me. See, and I was so haunted and so angry and so lost. I literally got on a plane and I flew to El Paso because I needed to see this with my own eyes. I needed to see what was happening here. And I went there and I saw that long memorial where people were still gathering to weep, where they were leaving their remembrances. It goes on the length of a football field. It's heartbreaking. And then we went to the border wall. You know, my son goes to school in New York City. They have Lady Liberty there. On the southern border, we have an ugly, rusty wall. What is that? What is that? And then we went to a border detention center where Homeland Security is protecting us by separating little children from their parents. Little ones in dark places, away from their mummies and daddies. And I remember going back to my room that night and thinking, what am I gonna do? Nobody is gonna listen to me. I am nobody. I am literally nobody. Nobody's gonna listen to me. How am I gonna convince anybody? What can I possibly do? And you know what God said to me in the dark that night? So simple, so elegant. He said, she said, you haven't said anything yet. That's right. It is time for me to put myself on the line for my brown daughter and for everybody's brown and black children. It is time. You see, I know what it feels like to be a little kid in a dark, scary place. That school where I went, that dark place. See, we talk about Donald Trump being a monster, but we had a monster at our school too. His room was at the bottom of the stairs around the corner where nobody could see. So when the little girls would pass by his room, he would prey on them. He would take whatever he wanted. He would ignore their personhood. He would move on them. He would take whatever he wanted. And when the news came out in that school about what that man had done, those men that ran that school, those good religious voters, they gave that man a love offering and they sent him on his way. So the last 4 years for a lot of us have felt like a walk by the room where the monster is. We have had him reaching out and grabbing us with overreach, executive orders, stuffing his tweets down our throats, torturing us with what he might do next. Back then, we needed a pastor. We needed a priest. We needed a protector. And now, we're in a pandemic. We need a peacemaker. We need a president. And we have this piece of work. So I am asking, please, 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 do not give this man the love offering of your vote. I am a mother. I'm a spiritual mother. I'm an adoptive mother. I'm a biological mother. And I am asking, vote like a mother.
Sometimes you just want to shout, don't you? Go ahead and get it out. Shout now. There you go. One more time. "31 years
always got a few friends I can trust. I've got a couple more, baby, but we don't talk that much. I've got a woman, thank God, she's the best I've ever seen. Well, she keeps me rolling like an 18-wheel machine. And I'm on a roll. And hey, America, see, I'm looking for a sign. Hey, America, just a little sign of a light. See, I'm an Indiana boy with a heart that won't sit still. Yeah, my cup is running over, but I still ain't got my fill. So won't you pray for me, Mary, that I keep my spirit right? Can you help me, Jesus, when I wanna give up this fight? 'Cause I'm on a roll. See, I've been rolling on. Yeah, I'm on a roll. Hey, America, see, I'm looking for a sign. Hey, America, just a little sign of a light. Hey, America, see, we've been living by faith and not by sight. We've been driving through these mountains in the middle of the night. There's this rain coming down, but I think I see our light. Hey, America, hey, America, hey, America.
Brendan Pfeiffer, everyone. Let's give him another round of applause. That's such a great song, Hey America, and it really hits for me because I am from the Midwest, and so it's good to be here in Ohio. I am from Grand Rapids, Michigan, so it feels a little awkward to be in the Buckeye State, so hoping that you will welcome me. My name is Nick Brock, and being from Grand Rapids, Michigan, Grand Rapids has historically been a conservative area, where from 1884 to 2004, the Republican Party won all but 3 election cycles. That's 120 years and approximately 5 generations of a particular voting pattern passed down. My hometown is also well known for being a conservative Christian community. And by and large, what this has meant is that there has been a hyper-focused attention on making theological statements, creating confessions of faith, and practicing personal piety at the expense of doing justice, loving mercy, and walking humbly. And again, for generation upon generation since the late 1800s, a particular faith pattern has been passed down. And so it's from within this political and religious context, where Trump signs pepper the landscape and where churches anchor nearly every street corner, and where multiple members of my family have pledged their vote for Donald Trump again. I have chosen to say no to the complacency, maintenance, and certitude of the status quo. I have chosen to say no to the politics and re-election of Donald Trump. In turn, though, this has allowed for me to say something new, a yes to the common good. Yes to vote common good, faith, hope, and love, because they have provided for me the context, space, vocabulary, and most importantly, the permission to re-examine and reimagine how my faith in Jesus intersects with my vote in politics. And this new framework then, the politics of Jesus, if you will, pivots upon our understanding of a 5-letter, 2-syllable word, power. And let me briefly explain this. In 2016, then candidate Donald Trump was on the campaign trail in Sioux City, Iowa, one of the most conservative Christian communities in the nation, a community not unlike my own and perhaps similar to yours. And while he was there, he addressed a crowd of curious and eager white evangelicals, and this is what he said. Christianity is under a tremendous siege, whether we want to talk about it or we don't want to talk about it. Christians make up the overwhelming majority of the country, and yet we do not exert the power that we should have. Christians will have power. He concluded, if I am in the White House, Christianity will have plenty of power. You don't need anybody else. I am going to represent you very, very well. Remember that. In effect, hold on, let me hold on for these bikers. They're getting pretty loud. There they go. In effect, and under the guise of Christianity's newly appointed savior, Donald Trump wanted to cut a deal for political power with Christian voters and have them sign their name on the dotted line. And eventually they did, to the tune of 81%. Isn't that right, Dan? 81% of white evangelical voters and 60% of white Catholic voters. But the politics of Trump, Trumpism, a species of hysterical intolerance built on intimidation, demagoguery, and a cult of personality, sold us a bill of goods that was and continues to be a false and distorted narrative of the narrative of the life and power for Jesus we find in the life and teachings of Jesus. In stark contrast to the politics of Trumpism, the politics of Jesus undermines the meaning of power at every turn, even when lynched upon a tree, crucified. Both tactics used as a form of ethnic intimidation to enforce law and order, while the oppressor literally stands back and stands by. A naked, sexually abused, brutalized, dehumanized, non-white Jesus, suffocated upon a cross, whereby the words, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe," fully embodies the crucifixion experience. Because with a loud cry, Jesus breathed his last. And it is precisely this "I can't breathe" Jesus who was murdered under the heavy knee of a system that said his life does not matter, wanting his fledgling group of friends, religious scoffers, elite government officials to re-examine and reimagine how power from above manifests in the streets below and in the public square, such as this one. You see, the way Jesus died at the hands of first century Rome is as relevant and subversive for us today in 21st century America. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here, friends? The politics of Jesus, where on earth as it is in heaven, is not just a short form prayer to climb the rungs of the spiritual ladder, but also a public policy statement about how the space between heaven and earth becomes so razor thin that you could hardly differentiate between the two. And the framework of its constitution is summarized as thus: let the same mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, who though he was in the form of God, did not regard equality with God as something to be exploited, but emptied himself, taking the form of a slave and being born in this human form. And it is within this likeness that he humbled himself and became obedient to the point of lynching on a cross. The way to transformational power is not through the ascent of your ego. It is not through the ascent of your stock's value or the worth of your 401k retirement plan. It is not through the ascent of your religious institution or your church denomination. And it most emphatically is not through the ascent of your political party. Donald Trump cannot save you. Joe Biden cannot save you. The way to transformational power that transcends the powers and principalities of this world, that crosses the divide and gives new life to me, to you, and to us, begins in recognizing critical moments such as this one that call us to go beyond our own selfish needs for violence, dominance, and exploitation, so that resurrection becomes not just something that happened long ago or something that will happen in the near distant future, but is also a constant reimagining here and now. In other words, your kingdom, your will be done. In the final analysis then, Donald Trump is right. And I bet you didn't see that coming, because neither did I. Christianity will have power, and plenty of it. It's just that he and his enablers have yet to conclude that we already possess it, and have since long before 2016. For in the beginning was the Word, and the Word became flesh, and we have seen Jesus, full of grace and truth. In closing, my friends, I have chosen to say no to the politics and re-election of Donald Trump because my yes is grounded in the politics of Jesus, where power from the bottom up carries within it all the momentum needed to rise up, and it carries all the life-giving spirit to roll away the interference of a large and cumbersome stone. Can I get an amen? Thank you. Friends, may you with your politics choose not to go right. And may you choose not to go left. But may you go deeper. Deeper into the mind of Christ, who by the power of his work within us is able to do immeasurably more than all we could ever imagine. And may you seek faith, hope, and love for the common good, not just until November 3rd, but in everything that you do. My name is Nick Brock. Peace be with you, friends.
Thank you, Nick. Well, Dr. King said, no one is free until we are all free. And there are so many of us that are not free. Right here in Ohio, the system is failing when a 13-year-old is gunned down by police for having a BB gun on him. The system is failing in so many ways. And while Donald Trump might not have started all these problems, he is heaping fuel on these fires. And we need someone with real solutions, with empathy and compassion. So this song is called We'll All Be Free, and it is my hope for not just election day, but the days to come. There's a world at war, caught in suffering, silent casualties. Oh God, grant us peace. In these sleepless nights, I can hardly breathe despite brutality. I know that we'll be free. I know that we'll be free. So let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see. We'll all be free. Yes. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see. We'll all be free. Yeah. In these sleepless nights, love will hold us here. Love will hold our hands, teach us to have no fear. So we lay our hate down to wash their feet. And when we see our brothers, oh, we'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free. So let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love dares us to see. We'll all be free. Let the light in, let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love dares us to see. We'll all be free. We'll be free. Free. We'll all be free. Oh, we'll be free. Free. We'll all be free. Yes, we'll be free. Free. We'll all be free. Oh, we'll be free. Free. We'll all be free. Yeah. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see. We'll all be free. Let the light in. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see. We'll all be free. Oh, we'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free.
Friends, our time is coming to an end here in a minute, but we want to also recruit you. I mentioned to you that we're going to take you along with us, and we'd love to do that because we have 10 days left. We have 10 days to put it all on the line. Now, we're going to travel around from this bus. We're going to be driving to Pennsylvania, and we're going to go see some friends. So if you have friends over in Hazleton, or you have friends in Harrisburg, or you have friends in Hershey, or you have friends in Pittsburgh, or you got some friends over in Philadelphia, or you got a couple of friends outside the White House, we're going to go to all those places in the next 10 days. But we'd also like you to do your part. So if there's any way we can help you, we'd love to. We're here with a table full of stuff over there. We've got a few things on it that we think might be helpful to you. There's some yard signs, there's some buttons, there's some postcards. Postcards that have mailing addresses, people in Pennsylvania where we're going. And if you'd be so kind as to take one of those packs of postcards with you, on the one side they have a Christian message, on the other side's blank. And on that blank side, it's a chance for you to write your own note. Inside that packet are 15 postcards and 15 mailing addresses for you to send that postcard to a faith voter in Pennsylvania. Because we know you can't go door to door, but we do know you can go mailbox to mailbox. So we want you to go mailbox to mailbox with these people. The other thing I'd ask from you, I know you've given us an hour of your time here. We so appreciate it. But we'd ask you for another 10 hours. Could we have 10 more hours of your life? That's a big ask. 1 hour a day for the next 10 days. You gave an hour today. Would you give an hour to some way to ask someone to show up on Election Day and to stop the re-election of Donald Trump? Now look, I'm going to ask you to vote for Joe Biden. I'm voting for Joe Biden. No, I shouldn't say that. I already voted for Joe Biden in Minnesota. So I already voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I'm asking you to vote for Joe Biden. But if you can't, just don't vote for this guy. Would you do something to reach out for all of your friends and get them to do the same thing? Ask them if they would join you in stopping the re-election of Donald Trump, because we need everybody in on this. If you feel like you're saying too much, let me encourage you. You're probably not saying enough yet. If you feel like you just keep bothering all your friends on Facebook, just double down and write another message. If you feel like you've sent too many emails to those friends of yours that are still supporting Donald Trump, send them 2 more. You got 10 more days. It's never mattered more. You're not going to say to yourself, boy, I'm sorry I said that last email. Or boy, I'm sorry I put up that last yard sign. This is your chance to double and triple down. So friends, we're asking you to lean in deep, do all you can. We don't need your money. We're not going to ask you for money from us. We're ready to go. We've fundraised enough to get us through the next 10 days. What we need you to do, if you make a contribution over there, we're going to make sure that money goes to stop the re-election of Donald Trump on Election Day. So you go ahead and make a donation. We're going to turn all that around. We like to joke there's 4 things that get us around this country. You already know 3 of them: faith, hope, and love. But you know what the 4th is? Diesel. Diesel moves that bus around the country. So we'd like to have you in the tank with us. So if you want to do that, make a contribution over there. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that it turns in to power this movement to stop Donald Trump on Election Day. Now, friends, there's a protest. There's a little protest going on out there in that on that street corner about a young boy who was killed, and the legal system in this country is supposed to be blind. You can see it up on the wall there. But to too many people, when we say that the justice system is blind, it doesn't mean it's looking equally on everyone. For some people, it feels like it's not looking at them at all. And there's some people out in that corner that feel that way. So if you can join them in a protest after we're done here, we'd sure encourage you to go ahead and do that. Now, we end our time by asking people to make a commitment that we call the Love in Politics Pledge. The Love in Politics Pledge is a pledge that we ask of voters. We ask you to hold your representatives. Anybody who wants your vote, we ask you to ask them to comport themselves in a way consistent with the standard of love. We think if we had more love in our politics, we wouldn't have a clown like this in the White House, and we need to have a little bit more love in our politics. So the Love in Politics Pledge is a 4-point pledge that you take, that you call every official to comport themselves in a way consistent with love. Secondly, you'll call them out when they do and thank them for doing so. Third, you'll call them out when they don't and demand that they make a change. And fourthly, you'll demand that they show themselves to be a person who's going to stick up for love when they have to. So that they... Oh, you tricked me. Thank you. I appreciate it. The 4th comment is that you would be somebody who would make sure that your politicians hold other politicians to a standard of love. Because it seems as if politics is the only industry in which people don't hold one another accountable, and we're tired of it. Now, on the back of this little card, if you have one in your hand or put over on those little banners there, is our Love in Politics Pledge on the back side, and it is a definition of love from 1 Corinthians 13. It reads like this: love is patient, and love is kind, and love does not envy, and love does not boast, and love is not proud, and love does not dishonor other. Love is not self-seeking, and love is not easily angered. Now, I just got to ask you, friends, does that sound like the President of the United States? If the man isn't acting in a faith, hope, and love, then he's violated the Love in Politics Pledge. And love keeps no record of wrongs, and love does not delight in evil. Love rejoices with the truth, and love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and love always perseveres. We think we need a little bit more love in our lives. We think we need a little bit more love in our world, and we sure know we need a little more love in our politics. Thanks for being with us. Do what you can over the next 10 days, and let's see faith, hope, and love bring a change on Election Day. Amen? Amen.
Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love dares us to see will all be free. Oh, let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love dares us to see will all be